Alright guys, here we are for lesson 4.2. So we just finished working in the order of operations. Now we're going to go into translating simple expressions. So our lesson goals for this lesson are to identify equations and expressions. And equations kind of sounds like equals. That's because equations have equal signs in them and expressions do not. That's the biggest thing. So you might have an equation that looks like this. 3 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, or an expression that looks like this. Okay, so this one is an equation. I'm just going to write equate, and this one is an expression. So expressions do not have equal signs, even though they may have a clear answer. It's just how they're written. Write mathematical expressions by interpreting statements, and what this means is just write numerical expressions by reading word problems. And the last one is translate mathematical expressions into number stories. Again, this just means to take a mathematical numerical expression and turn it into a word problem, aka number story. Some of the guiding questions we have are: which words indicate number operations? How can you write an expression with less than? And how is translating statements into expressions useful? So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Remember, this video is to be used along with your Moodle course, not to just skip the Moodle course, because I can't just give you the skill check on this video. You have to take it online. But this is to help you out. Some of us might need some of that extra help. I personally learn better when someone's teaching me, but I can still teach myself. It's just not as fun, right? So we're going to go ahead and do the warm-up. Again, this is the first thing you'll see in the Moodle course when you log in. So it says, stop and think. Leatherback sea turtles can weigh up to 1,323 pounds. Leatherbacks weigh 400 pounds more than hawksbill sea turtles. How many pounds do hawksbill sea turtles weigh? A lot to unpack here, a lot of fancy name drops. They probably do that in math problems just to confuse you. But there are some cool facts here. So let's look at it and hope my iPad doesn't go to sleep on us again. Okay, so I'm going to change my color here just so we keep things fancy. So we have leatherback sea turtles can weigh up to this many pounds. So I'm just going to abbreviate the leatherback as L. And they're going to be 1,323 pounds. Okay, numbers are important. And our leatherbacks weigh 400 pounds more than the hawksbill. So the leatherbacks weigh more than, this is the sign for more than, hawksbill. Okay, again, the H is just representing the hawksbill. And they actually weigh 400 more than the hawksbill. So how are we going to find out how much the hawksbill sea turtles weigh? That's what our question wants to know. I'm going to squiggle underneath it. We want to know how much does a hawksbill sea turtle weigh? Well, we know how much the leatherback weighs, and we know that they're 400 more pounds than the hawksbill. So we're going to have to do some backwards thinking to figure out how much the hawksbill weighs. And what we're going to do here is we can just take our 1,323 and we can subtract our 400. Okay, this is a skill we learned in Unit 1, just multi-digit subtraction. So here I'm just going to do my basic subtraction. That turns into 0, borrow. So 13 minus 4 is 9. So it's going to be 923 pounds. And I can check my work here. I can write my numbers down and check my work. I'm just going to write them out to the side here because I didn't leave myself a lot of room, unfortunately. Is 1,323 more than 923? And the answer is yes. That is correct. Okay. So that's how I can check my work kind of as I'm going along. There are 45 sea turtles swimming in the bay, but there are 5 times as many sea turtles in the ocean as in the bay. How many sea turtles are in the ocean? Okay, so again, lots of words. They're not really trying to trick you. They're giving you a lot of information though, so you got to break it down a little bit. So You know, I'm feeling very colorful today. There are 45 sea turtles swimming in the bay. So I have 45, and they're in the bay. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that information down. That way I keep it in the back of my head, and I know, and I don't have to read again. Because sometimes going back and reading, you can confuse yourself. But there are 5 times as many sea turtles in the ocean as in the bay. So that means there's 5 times more in the ocean. So I'm going to write that down. 5 times in the ocean. Okay? These are just thoughts that pop in as I'm reading the problem. These are important facts. Okay? How many sea turtles are in the ocean? Well, if I have 45 in the bay, and there's 5 times that in the ocean, all I have to do is now multiply. 45 times 5. Look at us using stuff from Unit 2. Unit 2 is all about multiplication. Okay, and you learn the standard algorithm for multiplying multi-digit numbers. You line up your numbers, and then I'm going to multiply from right to left. So 5 times 5 is 25. Got to carry that 2. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus my 2 is 22. 225. There are 225 sea turtles, in the ocean. Okay. Again, it's nice to write out what these numbers mean. Give your numbers meaning. Like I put pounds up here. I put that 225 refers to the sea turtles in the ocean. That way you're making sense of your answer. Okay. So the next page in your student notebook is going to ask you to watch the video in your Moodle course, of course, and you're going to take some notes here while you review that online lesson. And it looks like all of that video is going to be all about expressions, operations, so they're throwing out some vocabulary terms for you here, and they've got those written out for you. And then it says fill in the chart with operation words from the video. So you're going to fill out this chart with words that mean to do that action. So if I was saying add, you might see some or more than. Okay, or total. Again, you need to watch the video to get some of these. You can also write down the ones I'm writing down. They may also appear in the video, but these are just some things that come from the top of your head. Multiplication words, things that mean to multiply. Of course, if you saw multiply, well, that's a dead giveaway. Or times, that is a common term, just like we saw in the warm-up, 5 times the amount in the ocean. Other words that you might think of that are maybe less common, or you can maybe even see product. That is the answer to a multiplication problem. What is the product? Okay, again, they are going to use those words in the video, so double check in that video. Subtraction words, of course, subtract. Find the difference. Less than. Again, you do have to pay attention to the context of these words, though, and where the less than is being used. But generally, less than means to subtract. Minus. These are just some basic ones off the top of my head. Division words, of course, divide by or divided by. Maybe even split evenly. That is some of these require a few more than just one simple word. But if you're going to split something evenly, you're actually dividing it. Or the solution to a division problem is the quotient. Okay, so I just gave you 3 in each of these. Make sure you check out that video to see what other ones there are. There are probably some that you're going to come across too that you won't see on these. And you can add them as we work through this unit to this table. This is pretty good to keep in the back of your head. All right, so go ahead and watch that video, pause my video, go watch that video, fill out your paper, then come back to me. Okay, so then we have an activity, and this activity we can do together. It just requires one person, so it's not a partner or buddy activity. It is a riddle. These are some of my favorite activities. I love riddles, and I always loved being the first person to solve riddles whenever I was in school. So, bonus points if you're the first person to solve this riddle. So how to play. You are going to translate each expression and statement in the first column. Write your answer in the second column. The first one is done for you. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. Example, the sum of a number and 1 is 5. Here we are introduced to variables, okay? Variables are just like placeholders. Just like when you were in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, maybe even third grade. You might have seen things like this. Let me switch my color here. You might have seen things like smiley face plus 2 equals 7. What is smiley face equal to? Okay, well, if you know basic addition, then you know that smiley face is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. That's the same thing as this N here. N is just like that smiley face or that blank, that square. It's just it's a placeholder. It's taking the place of a number. We don't know yet, but we can find out in an equation. Okay, again, if you were going to actually solve this problem, you would say, 4 plus 1 is 5. But it's not asking you what an N is. It's just asking you to write it as an expression or turn the expression that they give you into a word problem. Okay. Then it says your answer should match an answer in the bank. If not, find your mistake. So it kind of narrows it down. Can't make too many mistakes because you're limited. And so the bank is down here. This is the bank. See all these things? Ta-da! That's your bank. And the example is not part of the bank. That's why you don't see the answer written there. Okay. And then it says, write the question letter next to the answer that matches your answer. So I'm going to do 2 of these with you. I'm going to do the T and the L. So 5 plus a number equals 12. 5 plus some number equals 12. Okay, so now I'm writing an equation. So I know I'm going to have an equal sign because it says equals. I know that plus means I'm adding. Okay, and these are my numbers. I have a 5. And then whenever it says something like this, a number, some number, an unknown, that's going to be a variable. You can use any letter, but because it says a number, I'm going to use N. Okay, I'm going to use N for my variable. And equals 12. So I actually wrote it over here. Now I'm just going to write it all together. Go back to my orange here. So 5 plus N equals 12. Is that in our bank? Let's check down here. 5 plus N. It looks like the variable they've chosen for this worksheet is N. So don't confuse yourself. It looks like anytime they're looking for a variable, it's all N. So that means T goes here and here. 5 plus a number equals 12. Perfect. Now let's try out L. So I'm going to switch up my color again. L, N divided by 2. There are a few ways you could write this. First, you have to decide, okay, how are you going to represent N? N can be any number, but I'm just going to say a number, and that's just the sign for number. A number divided by 2. Okay. Another way that you could write this is the quotient of a number and 2. So you could have multiple correct answers here, but the tricky thing is that you have a bank here. So we need to find out which bank goes along with those 2 sayings that I just said. Okay, so it can't be any of these number things, no expressions. It's not a number times 6, the quotient of a number and 2. That is exactly what I wrote over here. Yay, we found it. So that is our L right here. and I don't have any more of those. So I've already gotten my T and my L are done. Okay, now you try and find the rest. You're answering the riddle that says, I snap, but I'm not a twig. I am always at home, even on the move. I am armored, but I am not a knight. What am I? So what is this mysterious thing? Use your math skills and your wonderful math powers to figure it out. And we're going to go to our last page. The last page, again, is some extra practice. So, I'm not going to do it for you, but if you feel that you need some extra practice, I think we all could use a little extra practice on writing and decoding some of these word stories. They are tricky. The more you practice them now, the easier it gets, okay? But order does matter in subtraction and division, so you have to be careful of that. That's why this page to practice is magnifique, which is some other language for magnificent. But I don't know off the top of my head what I just said. So, thank you, and I will see you next lesson.